Hey everyone, and welcome back to Remember This Tech. Today's episode we're going back, way back to the year 2000, and we're going to be revisiting Windows 2000 Professional Operating System. So we're going to see how it stacks up today for some retro gaming. And you might be thinking, retro gaming, Windows 2000? That wasn't made for games, right? Why don't you use Windows Me or Windows 98? Well, be honest, when Windows Millennium Edition came out, I skipped that and I went right to Windows 2000 Professional because it was more stable. And in fact, I was able to game on that system back in the day, and I want to see if I can game on it again here and now in 2024, but with a little bit more updated components than what I had back in that day. In fact, we're going to be using the Gigabyte GA31MX S2 motherboard. It does have PCI Express. I know that PCI Express wasn't out back then, but hear me out on this one. This motherboard has all the drivers, the chipset drivers, audio drivers that are on board, and even the LAN drivers for this system for Windows 2000. I'm going to go out on a limb and think that it should have more support and should be more stable with Windows 2000 with the latest service pack. This board only supports up to 4 gig. So we're going to put in two 2 gig sticks of DDR2 in here and see how it plays nice with it or doesn't play nice. And pair this, since this is a socket 775 board, I think I have a decent CPU for this system. We're going to use the Pentium 4 650 CPU, socket 775, and even though it supports hyper-threading, it doesn't mean that Windows 2000 is going to support it or even know what to do with it, but we're going to see if it does as well. This CPU clocks in at 3.4 gigahertz. I think that I've resurrected my ATI 800XL, and I say think because I was able to rethermal paste these die, and it seemed to test good in my burn-in tests. This cooler sucks and I couldn't get an aftermarket for it, but I cleaned it up the best I could and it's what I have. So I'll try to use this Golden Freer SSD and an SATA, or if not, we'll use a IDE CD-ROM drive to get this system running, and if not, I'll fall back to an older IDE or a SATA to IDE adapter for a hard drive for this system. So without further ado, let's get going and put in the CPU and get this build rolling so I can start installing the plethora of installation software, service packs, everything. Come on, this is going to take me a while. So let's get started. Let's go. All right, so we got Windows 2000. Let's see if we can detect our SSD. All that good stuff is sometimes it doesn't work and I have to use an adapter, but it sees it. This is on the SATA controller on this machine. This is pretty amazing. That's the SSD, it's the wall RAM. I had to switch from the Golden Freer because it wasn't working. Blame AliExpress for that one. We're going to create the partition, use the whole thing, and then we're going to enter. Now, once you use NTFS, well, we're going to see what we can get to play, and if not, we will do a complete review of this operating system and what was unique and stable and special about it. Here we go. So we only have this last bit. I first did the initial setup and then copied some more files over, and now this seems to be the most easiest setup compared to Windows XP that I've done. Fast as well. I haven't done this 19 years at least. Not since XP came out, you know, I ditched it. So you're gonna guide through the initial setup, and a lot of this stuff I probably don't have the drivers for from the disk maybe, but it might surprise me. You know, I've downloaded them offline. I've got some CDs with them on there, but let's see what it detects and what it doesn't. Probably just load the generic drivers is what it'll probably give me. So let it do its thing and see what it finds. And that was reasonably painless. Just got myself my key rather, and on to installing the remainder of the system. Still copying files though. I guess It only copies what it needs, and then you can install what you need for admin purposes later. The maximum CPUs that Windows 2K Professional would support was 2 back in the day. So technically I could probably put in a dual core E8400 CPU and 3 gigahertz. That would probably work really great. But you know, we got this Pentium 4 650 3.4 gigahertz with hyperthreading, so it might see the second thread as a CPU, which is not accurate, but I want to see what it sees. Setup is complete. There's no way you can get past this. This is about the fastest it goes, you know. Now the starting up phase. Now supposedly I had this disk with SP4 slipstreamed into it, so see what it installed, what it picked up, what it didn't, and actually what SP service pack it has. Let's continue. Desktop. Alright, finally hit the desktop, and it kind of looks like NT-ish, Windows 98-ish, but this is, you know, straight up Windows 2K Professional. And control panel here. Keep in mind we're running at the crop resolution because we're going to go into the device manager, service pack 4, and we got the Pentium 4 3 gigahertz recognized, and the RAM probably needs a patch or something. So device manager, let's see what it picked up. So we've got a bunch of problems. Obviously we knew that was going to happen. It thinks the SSD is a Samsung. Weird, right? Does it use a Samsung controller? Who knows? So we've got to go ahead and install some drivers so we can get this system fully functional. But yeah, this is the tools you have. Add, remove programs. It's just like Windows. It's like a combination of Windows 98 and XP. Internet Explorer. Network places. My computer. We used 2.61 gig to install this onto the drive for the operating system. Programs installed, accessories, we've got accessibilities, communications, entertainment, games. And it's interesting to see that, you know, you get your games, your old school games with Windows 2000, even though it was a workstation environment operating system. And then you got some basic system tools, and then it'll give me a rundown. It recognizes the board, which is pretty awesome. Who knew? It sees 2 processors even though it's hyper-threaded. So we will get to installing the rest of the system drivers and give you a good overview of the system. Let's go! We've got the Intel chipset drivers here for the motherboard and Windows 2000. How nice. Give me some desktop power, 32-bit. Let's see. Looks good. A little bit tough to see in my old eyes, but look at that. Catalyst Control Center. Such an antiquated software, but it is what it is, and that's what we have, so. This is kind of familiar, newer, but Information Center, you'll see we're running the 6.14 2D, and 3D we're using the 6.3 driver package for ATI Radeon, and well, as you can see, it's got my monitor in there. That's how old my LCD is. Resolution here, the card can take 2 outputs, and this is the maximum of this monitor. It's 1080p, 75 hertz, and I got some 3D settings and application controlled. So everything's working good, just gotta finish up the sound card. As you see here, we've got the Radeon drivers installed. We've got this is onboard audio. I don't care about that. And here's the Sound Blaster Audigy 2 drivers. Last but not least, we have the chipset drivers to the motherboard. We are good to go. Great. Windows 2000, if you go into the control panel, kind of like XP as well, you'll see all these similarities. But one thing you'll note is you'll have admin tools. It's meant to be a workstation OS. So you'll have these admin tools here, computer management, but you'll also notice the differences, or rather similarities, with XP and the desktop. Your accessories, you know, you have all the same things as what you had in basic XP, and you still can run this as a gaming system, but you won't have the support that you do for XP era as in gaming. But as I showed you, we have all the drivers for this motherboard, and that's what's good about it. Just a real quick check with DXDiag, and we have DirectX 9C installed. 256 meg video card. Yes, yes. Do we work? Yes. DirectX works. That's nice. And what else? And then we have DirectX 8, and it's good to go. And what else? Right, can we stop? This is not the game I installed. Wait, this is pinball. How dare you? 3D pinball. Wow, that is loud. Since I like the Elder Scrolls, why not try Oblivion? Whoa, yeah, I have that disc too. Says just XP for the requirements of this system. Oblivion! Let's try this one. Requirements are Windows XP 512 meg of RAM, 2 GHz Pentium 4, 128 meg Direct 3D video card or DirectX 9. But I'm sure you really want to know is, will this game work? High quality. Yeah, great. Oblivion seems to be working. Well, it's Oblivion, and the textures are nice. You can drown. So, what would I say? I mean, you can play this game really nice with this setup. The video cards is what's holding you back. This guy is taking like 10 arrows. Really? So yeah, I mean, the game plays great, and Windows 2000 plays this game great. But as far as a gaming OS, if you really want to play these era games, play it on Windows XP. You have a little bit more support, and that's all I got to say. So my final thoughts on checking out Windows 2000. Back in the day, you know, when Windows 2000 came out, it was a step up. It was essentially NT 5.0. Workstation OS. It was much more slim, trimmed down version of what XP came out as. It wasn't meant to be a gaming OS. It was meant to be a workstation OS. Kind of like the more stable version of NT when it came out, and then Millennium Edition came out around the exact same time. If you were an average person, you wouldn't know the difference. All you would know is, say, Millennium Edition. Well, it looks like that one's for me. And then you choose the buggier Millennium Edition, and then you would have issues. Windows 2000 Professional was the more stable of the two options. And Windows 2000 was used in the workplace and the admin environment for a long time. And they came out with 4 service packs, and eventually any issues they had in the beginning were ironed out with those, and it became very stable until they went to 2003. Is there any use case scenario for Windows 2000 in 2024? Not really. Not unless you wanted to have an old school home network and you wanted to connect it up. Recreate your glory days of being a network admin on Windows 2000. If you truly want a gaming experience for the 2000 era, your best bet is to go with XP Service Pack 3. You have better DirectX support, better updates from that era, and more compatibility with those games. Okay, you don't have the problems that you might have compatibility wise. That being said, I had no problems just installing this. It detected my SATA SSD. I didn't have to load a driver for that, probably because I had the SP4 Slipstream Windows 2K Professional build. Sometimes in the past when I'm trying to install Windows XP, even SP3 Slipstream, I've had issues where I had to side load the driver so it can detect it, hit F6 and load that driver. I didn't have that problem. Went through, detected a lot of things. I put in the Sound Blaster card later, and I had drivers for that. I had drivers for the 800XL Radeon card. Had the INF chipset drivers for this motherboard. It saw the Pentium 4. It was pretty snappy, I'm telling you. Not that you needed all that to run it back in the day, but this system had it. 4 gig of RAM, The system's pretty darn stable, and you can use modern components. It picks it up really nice. Thanks for coming along with me and revisiting this piece of history and nostalgia in Windows 2000. And thanks for watching Remember This Tech.